Bernard Arnault's world looked nothing like luxury. He was born into a family that built things the unglamorous way: construction, real assets, physical projects with tight margins and clear deadlines. His father ran a civil engineering company that specialized in infrastructure, not imagination. Roads, buildings, materials, work where costs mattered more than taste. Arnault grew up watching how money behaved when it had constraints. Budgets were fixed. Delays were expensive. Sentiment did not change the math. If something worked, it scaled. If it didn't, it was replaced. That framework stayed with him. As a student, Arnault showed little interest in art as expression. What attracted him was structure: engineering, systems, optimization. He trained as an engineer, not a creative. To him, companies were machines. Outputs depended on inputs. And most importantly, ownership decided direction. In the early years, Arnault did not chase prestige, he chased leverage. When France went through economic instability in the late 20th century, many legacy companies became fragile. Old brands carried history, but not discipline. Assets were emotional, balance sheets were not. Arnault noticed something unusual: brands could be famous and weak at the same time. This insight became his entry point. Rather than starting something new, he looked for existing structures that could be reorganized. One of his earliest major moves involved acquiring a struggling textile group that owned a famous but underperforming luxury house. The brand had recognition. The operation had inefficiencies. The ownership was divided. From the outside, it looked like a risky pivot. From Arnault's perspective, it was familiar. This was construction logic applied to culture. Strip what doesn't support the structure, reinforce what does, and control the blueprint. Once inside, he made decisions that confused observers. Creative leadership was changed. Cost structures were tightened. The business was treated less like an artistic institution and more like an asset with unrealized potential. The infographics show something subtle here. Arnault was not buying fashion. He was buying optionality. Luxury brands, unlike industrial ones, had asymmetric upside. They could raise prices without proportional increases in cost. Their demand could be shaped through scarcity. Their value increased when they were controlled, not expanded. Arnault understood that the real product was not clothing or accessories. It was belief, and belief was scalable if managed correctly. As his control expanded, so did his confidence in consolidation. Instead of running brands independently, he began organizing them into a portfolio. Shared back offices, shared real estate leverage, shared negotiating power with suppliers. To designers, this looked like interference. To Arnault, it was efficiency. He wasn't trying to make brands identical. He was trying to make them durable. A pattern emerged: acquire heritage, centralize control, preserve the outward identity, optimize everything behind the curtain. While others chased trends, Arnault chased permanence. One of his most strategic moves came not from what he added, but from what he refused to give up: control. Unlike founders who diluted influence for growth, Arnault structured deals so decision-making authority stayed centralized. Minority shareholders existed, independent managers existed, but final authority did not move. This mattered later. As his group expanded, Arnault resisted the temptation to become a public personality. He rarely positioned himself as a visionary. He let the brands speak. The system stayed quiet. By the time the luxury market began globalizing, his structure was already prepared. Distribution channels expanded. Emerging markets grew wealthier. Demand for status symbols increased, but Arnault's advantage wasn't timing, it was readiness. Because his brands were already controlled, already optimized, already positioned as scarce, they scaled without losing pricing power. When demand rose, prices rose faster. When markets slowed, margins remained. Luxury had been turned into infrastructure. This was the moment when the system crossed from strategy into dominance. Yet even here, Arnault's approach stayed consistent. He avoided overexposure. Marketing budgets were precise. Store locations were selected like real estate investments, not billboards. Every expansion was reversible. Every decision protected the downside. By the time the world noticed the scale of the empire, the system was already locked in. Competitors were fragmented. Designers came and went. Trends rotated. Ownership stayed. Arnault also treated succession differently than many peers. Family involvement was not symbolic. It was operational. Control structures were designed to persist across generations, not quarters. This wasn't about legacy in the emotional sense. It was about continuity of incentives. A centralized owner can afford patience, a fragmented one cannot. As digital commerce reshaped retail, Arnault did not rush. Scarcity still mattered. Physical presence still mattered. The experience was part of the product. Technology was adopted where it reinforced control, not where it diluted it. At its core, Arnault's system worked because it respected one constraint others ignored. Taste cannot be mass-produced, but belief can be maintained. By limiting supply, controlling messaging, and preserving ownership, he turned culture into a repeatable business model. This is why the empire didn't collapse under its own weight. It wasn't built on trends, it was built on structure. And that structure was decided early, before the spotlight, before the scale, before the outcome became obvious. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can make more content like this. See you in the next video.